So welcome. Today we are speaking about customer acquisition and three ways to get people into today's marketing funnel. And we're going to focus on AI. It's the genie's out of the bottle. We're all embracing it in different ways. And we're going to take you on a guided tour and make it a really safe environment for you to learn and for all of us to learn from each other here. So let's jump in.
Okay.
So just a little bit about Outfront Solutions. Jeanine and I are the founders. And with Outfront Solutions, we're really focused on marketing strategy, marketing technology, and solutions. And we've really doubled down on marketing technology. It is an area where it's having phenomenal growth. So marketing technology is having a day. And we're going to talk about the growth in marketing technology and a lot of the tools later. But we're really focused on, bringing solutions to people that are affordable and that are approachable. And something that came up the other day that I thought was really pertinent is, we just want to continue to create a safe space to talk about technology. And so it's okay to put the most rudimentary question in the chat or ask us at the end. We're here to talk about technology, make it really approachable, and we're combining it with marketing strategy. So what I wanted to point out was our ikigai, which is our concentric circles there. And ikigai is a Japanese term that means reason for being. And if you've followed us closely, you will see that our ikigai has evolved. We, like all of you, need to reinvent ourselves occasionally. And so what we've done is we've made marketing technology and MarTech implementation and our reputation work kind of the big buckets, right? And then that we're consulting on areas of PR, marketing solutions, go-to-market strategies, and tech stacks. So that's how we're evolving. So please, stay in touch with us, and we'll also provide our contact information at the end. So let's check in with everybody. What brings you here today? So I'm going to invite you to put in the chat, what is it that's bringing you to today's conversation? We're talking about AI and customer acquisition. And so, what is it that's bringing you today? Here are some questions that we're hearing over and over again. Like, is AI safe to use right now? Can it truly help grow my business? How are people responding to actual generative AI? Will AI take our jobs? So we're going to answer a lot of these questions, but please go ahead and pop in the chat. What is it that's bringing you here today? We want to understand and see what's on your minds. All right. Cool. All right. Learning as much as you can. It does pay to stay nimble. Curious about your insights and use of AI in digital marketing strategies. Awesome. We're going to approach that. Education. Fantastic. All right. Let's keep going.
Okay.
So we thought this quote was pretty pertinent right now, right? There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. How many of you have felt like the last week felt like a decade? Yes. Yes, I think that's unanimous. That the world of AI, all that we're facing, coming out of pandemic and the social justice and all these things, climate change, what have you. It's a lift right now. So everything's feeling like a decade every week, occasionally each day. What we wanted to do was ground ourselves in AI and what our perspective is on it. So we're saying that AI is already a part of your lives and it's coming for your marketing. And so it's really important. And bravo for all of you who are here today and who are listening to this podcast, because we're all interested in being a part of it and continuing to grow. And clearly you all have a growth mindset. So fantastic. It's really important that we're all readying ourselves for all the new possibilities, that we're experimenting and trying out all these new technologies, and that we're never losing our humanity, right? And our skills as marketers. So that's always important, to keep the human, especially with all this technology.
And those are two things, humanity and your skills as a marketer, that AI can't take. There's a lot of things it can do, but that's one thing it's not going to be able to replicate. So we just wanted to kind of get us all on the same script in regard to what is AI. And in regard to what Nicole was just saying about it being in our lives, it's already Siri. It's already there in Siri and Google Assistant and Alexa, in the recommendation systems you're using, in personalized advertising, in smart home devices and spam filters and social media are delivering you up content based on AI, financial services, shopping, healthcare. It's already everywhere. So right now, AI refers to the development of computer systems that perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So those things like natural language, recognizing images, learning from experience, that's the machine learning, and making decisions. It's important to know that AI by itself is really just it's a pattern recognition engine. It's the machine learning and the natural language processing that's added to it that is giving it the capabilities that we're now all experiencing with ChatGPT, for example. So AI right now, you can think of it in two categories. The narrow category is one that you're just doing a specific task, like playing chess, right? Or voice recognition. General AI is the one that everybody who works in the industry, the scientists and the people who signed that letter that said, whoa, let's slow it down. That's general AI, and that's anticipated to be the time when the machine is finally can do everything we do, can do our task, perform any intellectual task. And people are scared about it because it may choose to do tasks that we wouldn't have done. And so how do we govern this thing? And that's where a lot of talk is going. Generative AI is a subset of AI that refers to systems that generate new content. That's the ones we're working with, right? Goes out, finds words and word associations and bring them back to us and creates text. It's not new because it's built on all of the data that it's been scraping in order to bring that to us, but it's generating something that's technically kind of new. So that's generative AI, narrow and general. So we've got to keep our eyes particularly on the general. So, I think I clicked twice. Yeah, just the way it works. Briefly about how it works is that it's got algorithms, right? Just like Google and social media, that is being governed, what it's showing us through algorithms. So it finds patterns in data based on algorithms, right? And you can train it. And people are like Google and Microsoft and OpenAI. They have their own neural networks that are trained on these vast amounts of data. And what you're going to see is more companies and other organizations training the AI on their data. So you will have specific capabilities with AI and generative AI focused on specific data sets and closed ones. And I think one of the things that I think is just really interesting is with algorithms, since it's serving up stuff to you, it's kind of acting like a media channel. I mean, we used to communicate by putting something in the media or maybe social media, but now these algorithms are going to go into those things, grab information and present it to you. It's almost like it's its own channel. It is its own channel. So how are we going to interact with these algorithms? How are we as marketers going to get these algorithms to be talking to us, and doing what we're asking it to do. You know how with algorithms with Google, we're all trying to game them so that our SEO goes higher. I think there's going to be a real practice in algorithms and how to intersect with them for communications purposes. So another reason why we all have to pay attention is because this is really an order of magnitude that's bigger than any of the technologies that have come before. And when you look at the time to get to 1 million users, you've got Netflix, which took 3.5 years to get to 1 million, Twitter that took 2 years, Spotify that took 5 months, that's accelerating technology, and ChatGPT that took 5 days to get to 1 million users. Right? And to get to 100 million users, it took LinkedIn 7 years and 11 months and ChatGPT 2 months. So back to these decades and weeks, things are just going faster. And it's almost why we need AI, because we can't deal with all of this massive amounts of information. We need tools, and these tools are what we're embracing here.
And if I may mention, Jeanine, last week, I went to the Wisdom 2.0 conference, really fascinating conference. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it, but it's the coming together of technology and mindfulness and well-being. And Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was on stage with Jack Kornfield, a very famous spiritual leader. And it was quite something to behold. And one of the things that struck me was the fact that even Sam Altman is completely blown away by the uptake of ChatGPT. And he was saying that he didn't really know completely all where it's going. So even the CEO of ChatGPT, of OpenAI, and the father of ChatGPT didn't know all the directions that the technology is going in, because it's growing and it's learning every single day. So I thought that was pretty astounding. So all of us are quite blown away, and even Sam Altman is feeling like probably his day feels like a decade.
Yeah. So let's talk about why we can't ignore AI in marketing, right? So Sam was one of the ones who had this quote, AI is the fourth industrial revolution. Actually, everyone's saying it, from Gates to, scientists. And that's, they said, in the 18th century, agriculture changed everything, our ability to do industrial agriculture. In the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution, with all of the machinery of that time. In the 20th century, the disruption was computational power. And in the 21st century, it's going to be AI, which is bringing all of these things together. So PwC is estimating that AI has the potential to contribute 16 trillion to the global economy by 2030. And guess what? That's like tomorrow, right? So this thing is just, this train has left the station. Nicole, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
No.
Okay.
So genie's out of the bottle, the train has left the station, whatever analogy you want to use. We're in it. We're on it. Something that's also astounding is the fact that the MarTech landscape has grown by over 7,258%. So if you look at in 2011, there were 150 MarTech tools. Today, there are over 11,000. So no wonder why, people are finding it confusing and not knowing necessarily what technologies to use, when and how. And, notably, yesterday, I saw more statistics around the fact that people are certainly not using technologies to their full capacity. So that's why we're jumping in body first into the world of MarTech and AI to help companies, brands, and communities like all of us sort through and really understand what do these technologies mean to us. And in specifically today, we're going to talk about 3 technologies in the customer acquisition area that are really helpful. So where is all the money going? It's going into generative AI in all these different areas. So you see this huge growth in social media and marketing content. We'll talk about that. The imaging and video space, we were having a little discussion about that in the chat. That's growing hugely. There are a lot of human to machine interfaces that are getting a lot of funding. So if you look at this map, this is where we're all going to see exponential growth. It's kind of that rubber band effect, right? And so that's why we're seeing all this growth in the generative AI spaces, because hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars are going into it. So as we've also started to hit on in the chat, AI impacts every aspect of marketing. So if you look across, and this is just a very, very small list. How is marketing impact and AI impacting text? Well, we've got hundreds of millions of users on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 4 is growing rather significantly. Google's putting so much into Bard. There's Cohere, Writer. We're going to show you a whole bunch more in terms of generative AI tools. For images, we're all using technologies like DALL-E and Deep Art. For video, Runway is just blowing my mind, and faking people out here and there as well. For audio, there's so much that can be done with Spotify, and really making search and content and everything so much smarter. And then, of course, with coding, it's just taking the place of data scientists in a lot of cases. And so you have companies like GitHub and Copilot putting out a lot. So, there's a stat here from the Marketing AI Institute, and that's a really great organization. I want to flag that for everyone to potentially go and take their courses. Their content's really, really useful, the Marketing AI Institute. And they're saying that the time it takes to complete tasks such as writing, design, planning can be reduced 20 to 30% at a minimum with the current versions, just with what we already have today with generative AI. So I'm curious, and say yes in the chat if you think that your time is being reduced by 20 or 30%. I know ours is across a lot of these tasks. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So this is just a quick example, just to purposefully overwhelm you with all the different generative AI writing tools that are on the market today. They're amazing. There's so much, and you can dive in deep on any one of these. And we've played with and used a good handful of them. And so transforming our day-to-day. So I think it's important to just highlight what AI cannot do yet, right? This can also make us feel a little bit more comfortable. So it's not as SaaS platform, so software as a service. So it's not standalone per se, right? You really have to engage and feed it and work with it. So it's not as standalone as a lot of the platforms that are out there. A number of the SaaS platforms are integrating AI, but that's different. It doesn't have original ideas as of yet. It's not emotionally intelligent quite yet, but we work with a technology that helps to understand the emotional intelligence of users. So, but the AI itself is not emotionally intelligent. It doesn't perform its own original research. It can't provide specific sources per se. It doesn't have the human lived experience it doesn't necessarily ensure quality. That is another area where we're always having to quality check what is produced by AI. It doesn't have taste or, like fashion sense or, that sort of thing. And with ChatGPT in particular, the insights stop as of September 21st. So it doesn't necessarily go back or, in time or forward in time in the way that, we all can with our reasoning as humans. And, I think it's important to note that 80% of a survey of 4,500 respondents said that ensuring their AI output was fair, safe, and reliable was a critical factor in the use of technology. And we absolutely live by that at Outfront Solutions. We are only working with 100% compliant, privacy compliant technologies. Just too important. We did a disservice as marketers to the world with social media in the last decade, and a lot of the platforms were not watching out for what was fair, safe, and reliable. So I think it's really important that for all of us as marketers, we are focused on those areas. So, every market and value chain is being remade by AI. So with AI, we're redoing things like speeches, posts, articles, our workforces, and knowledge workers, are this can impact millions of people. That was, a statistic by the AI Marketing Institute, and we're already starting to see that knowledge workers are truly impacted by artificial intelligence. It's really impacting trust. That's a major focus. Relationships are being redefined. If you think about it, the human to human relationship is being defined because there are now more human to machine and machine to machine relationships. I mean, how many of you have yelled at Siri or Alexa, or your AI, your technology? You have a relationship, and the machines are creating relationships among themselves. Intent marketing is being really impacted. It's not just about search anymore. And so we will highlight a technology later that's focused on intent marketing, and that's really exciting, especially when it is privacy compliant. Chat bots, are prolific. And so the search is being deeply impacted as people use AI to get their information. Search is being really strongly impacted. So no wonder why Google needs to jump in the way that they are. And then also what we found to be pretty astounding is that 34% of businesses surveyed across the US, Europe, and China have already adopted AI. That's a huge amount of organizations. That's a pretty significant adoption. So again, it's coming for you. So AI will be infused in more and more workflows across every business function. So we've been talking about, marketing, but, we do feel a responsibility to kind of flag the areas that will be impacted, because people need to bring their human skills to these areas. And, and job loss is truly likely. It's going to impact the economy in all kinds of different ways. There's a lack of government oversight and regulation. You've probably seen that, there are Senate conversations happening currently, and they're rudimentary conversations. The senators don't even really know what questions to ask because they're on this really steep learning curve, as we all are. So there you have it. Companies don't necessarily yet have training programs. There's so many economic, social, and policy implications from AI. And this is just the beginning. And so, what could prevent these loss of jobs? Well, government regulation could be helpful. Reskilling and upskilling, again, another reason why we're here today, to really stay on top of this stuff. Lack of adoption, but we really don't think these things are going to happen, or if flaws in technology could slow down it taking over jobs. But again, the pace of everything is so fast that we don't think these things are that significant of a factor.
And, Debbie wrote and she said, why weren't these conversations happening earlier? Well, Lord knows, Debbie, we were all trying to get these conversations going. For example, we worked with the Department of Defense and we said, about the Russian, hacking farms, right? And they were like, well, maybe they're there, maybe they're not. We were saying, we brought in technologies to them and said, look, they're there. And they were like, yeah, we're going to have some meetings about them. And that same thing has happened as with technologies, introducing technologies to governments, and governments just don't move until the profit motive makes them or the populace makes them. And right now, one of the fears is that with capitalism, if it's just the profit motive that's spurring this development, human interests are going to get left by the wayside. If it's just cutting costs, and I ask myself, I say, what happens when 2/3 of us or 1/3 of us, whatever large number, are out of business and don't have jobs? How are we going to buy the products and the services that this country makes, right? How is that whole economy going to work going forward if it impacts our workforce the way it looks like it will? So we're looking for reskilling, upskilling programs, and really it's going to fall to us as marketers and human beings and members of society to try to get our companies to do these things. Let's upskill people. Let's find out, let's really analyze where we're going to be impacted and find the ways that people can be deployed the best to make the most of these technologies. So we're pretty passionate about that and concerned. So now we're going to talk about some of the customer acquisition tools and techniques that we've been using. And obviously, these are a lot of new things. So we're sharing what we know. We don't know everything, and we absolutely welcome you to come in here, but we're going to share what we do know. So one of the things that we know is that there should be and can be a new focus on performance marketing and measurement that wasn't possible before without AI. Right. So we're going to talk about 3 ways of thinking about it. One is about measurement and management of your marketing program. One is about the fuel of the internet content, and how to maximize its value. And one is about how you put all these things together for the most optimal program and what that might look like. So I want to dive in and talk a little bit about, like, when we look at it, we think, okay, we think in like 3 different buckets here. One is reputation and relationships, because that's how you sell, right? Whether it's sales or marketing, it's about your reputation as a brand. It's about your relationship with your customer. And how is AI going to either enhance or impact that, right? So we do know about content. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but valuable content, right? People appreciate that builds trust. It builds loyalty. There's also customer service, quick response, having answers at your fingertips. That creates a sense of loyalty and relationship. And there are new tools also for lead gen. So on the sales side, I don't know if you've all tried Seamless AI or AI Identified. These are tools that help you prospect. And what the AI does is it goes out and says, okay, you want to know about Jeanine Moss. Well, here's all of her social, here's all her phone numbers, here's where she lives. Oh, look, she sold a house recently. She got married. So it can find all data from across the universe and bring that into a spreadsheet for you to use to know how to talk to me, when to talk to me, how to prioritize me, and that kind of thing. Now, it's really awesome tool. But I do want to say that a lot of the data that they pull in is data that was collected in questionably, in ways that we no longer adhere to, right? Cookies, private data, and it's all, put into a data lake and then pulled out for you. So we prefer privacy compliant methods of connecting with customers. And we're going to talk about that in a sec. So the second bucket is intent marketing, right? And intent marketing is so much better than demographic marketing. We were talking with some people yesterday, we're saying like demographic marketing or psychographic marketing, you have Ozzy Osbourne and you have the King of England, right? Both 48, both live in a castle, both, I forgot all the other qualities they have in common, second marriages, things like this, and yet entirely different people, right? Also, we have, if we were targeting them, we have no idea of whether they're looking to buy something or if they already did. Like one of my pet peeves is people, once I make a purchase, I buy a new outfit for a wedding, and suddenly every wedding outfit producer in America is bombarding me with clothes for weddings. Well, I already bought them, right? So intent marketing, and that's why search engine marketing is so popular and strong, is because when people put in data into the search engine, they're demonstrating their intent. So now you can tap into intent marketing much better with content, which is we're going to talk about in a second, and aligning your content with your customers' desire to purchase, right? And then on the channel management. So remember, I don't know if you remember, but once upon a time, we used to say that it took 3 or 4 touch points before you would get a customer. Well, today it's more like 20, 30, 40 touch points before you get a customer because of omnichannel marketing. If you think about, and omnichannel communications, if you think about all the different communications channels you intersect with every day, if you're a marketer and you've got to be omnipresent in them, right? And how the hell are you going to manage all of these channels and all these different messages and all these interactions? So new tools are being developed to do that. And we're going to talk about one of those right now too. So managing them, monitoring them, optimizing them, and making sure that your budget is being spent against tactics that are actually delivering business results, not clicks, not impressions, but actual business results. That's what we can do now with AI, and it's being hailed as the greatest cost reduction tool ever for that reason, all right? So the first one we want to talk about is Promonio, which is a tool. I just want to get to that right. It's a tool that you can use to set up your marketing plan. It has unlimited channels that can feed into it. It's like a platform, and it reflects your channel selections and has built-in metrics. So you're able to kind of make predictions about your spend and what you could expect to get out of it. One of the other cool things about it is that you can drill down as you operate it and use it to find out what is working in what channels and what you can tweak to improve those channels, right? And then another thing that marketers are just going crazy for is that it can produce charts and graphs for your board, for your CEO, for whoever your clients, whoever you're working with, that shows them what you're doing, what's working, what's not working, and why it isn't, or why it is. So this is a fantastic platform because currently there isn't one source of truth out there for many of us. Some of the enterprises built their own, and that was hugely expensive, and most of us can't really afford that. I know I can't. When we do new businesses, it's prohibitively expensive. Promonio is not. So Meta, Shopify, Google, they've all got their own analytics, right? They're not coming together and then showing you a holistic picture. So companies have to figure it out on their own so that they are allocating their time and resources the most wisely. So it sets goals, predicts results, optimizes and reports on revenue outcomes. It diagnoses issues. It helps you hit your forecasts and gives you warning signals for if you're not. It accelerates the time to revenue because of that, right? You can immediately catch things before you let them go. It's real-time analytics. That's another really important quality. And it improves your effectiveness and accountability. And we thought it's notable from the Adobe Digital Trends Survey to note that 50% of client-side practitioners and senior executives are using multiple technologies or vendors for customer experience management, and they don't have a unifying platform. So this is one that does that. And Nicole has been going to a really deep dive into Promonio. So Nicole, do you want to tell us more about it here?
Yeah, well, this is a really messy slide, so I do not recommend that you try to unpack it per se, but I'm going to just highlight a few of the things that Jeanine mentioned, and that's being depicted here. This platform allows you to track all of your omni-channel go-to-market plan already either in a predictive way, so you don't even have to have data yet. It can tell you, hey, you should be on this channel or that channel, but it also tracks and predicts the ROI of every lead source. So that's what you have here. You have this example of by lead source. You know, is it LinkedIn? Is it a Google ad? Is it a, from your contact us page? And what, how, and where, and is that performing for you? So it's the predictive nature. It's the one source for truth. And this is actually a tool where marketers can work with CFOs. Love this because they have a window into truly what is working across the marketing mix. So, in a time where budgets are tight, who doesn't need to optimize and make sure that we are predictively delivering ROI per lead source? So that is what this platform does.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk a little bit about topic intelligence, which is a really robust content tool, and content at its core. It identifies the topics that people are looking for and engaging with in the marketplace, and not just reading or passing by, but actually taking action in connection with. It gives you topics and keywords that you can use for every phase of funnel development from the top to the bottom. It shows you which channels will be best for which topics. So use this topic in social, use this one in PPC, etc. It creates content for you using a generative AI, and they've been doing this actually for several years now already. It distributes the content to the media. It does SEO and PPC because think of it, this is all content-based, and it there's a lot of different business models that are now adopting this capability for different needs, from internal libraries of content, amplify their authority. We use it in personal branding. We use it in all of our branding efforts. So it attracts people with purchase intent. It highlights brand differentiation because when it looks for content out there, it does it through the lens of your brand and what you're talking about and how you speak about it. It can actually be trained in tone of voice. And it drives performance. It's all about customer acquisition. That's all it wants to do. So it targets topics, not people. This is one of the reasons Nicole and I like it so much. There's no privacy involved here. They're not looking for Jeanine Moss. They just know Jeanine. Jeanine Moss just needs to know where she can get her dog groomed. And I'm going to look for that. And I also don't know what are all the styles my new dog could have. So I'm really interested in the different outfits and things I can do with them. So it can target that interest for me, and I'm highly likely to buy. So you're targeting me when I'm looking, right? So, you can, from articles and white papers to social media and email content, it's doing all of that. It's identifying strategic themes that your brand can actually own. That's where, as I mentioned, it takes a look at how your brand expresses itself, what your brand is talking about, and looks for adjacencies out there on those themes. And it's important because the differentiation, which by the way, is going to get ever so much more difficult now when with ChatGPT and the other generative AI things, producing content that's no longer under a banner or necessarily even connected with your brand. We're going to have a bigger emphasis on branding and differentiation in this kind of big C that we're looking at. And the other thing about it that we find really wonderful is that because it comes up with these topics and keywords, it stimulates us to look at our topics differently. Because you might say under longevity, all of a sudden you see brain health. You go, oh, I never thought about brain health in regard to longevity. And you find out that that scores really highly, and that if you did it in social media, you would get a lot of engagement. Boom, you've got a new piece of content, right? So, yeah, and if you're just looking, there's a lot of tools that will just give you keywords for SEO. And those, are great and you can use them, but they don't give you context and they don't come up with a cluster that gives you a full picture, holistic picture of your topic, which really stimulates your content development. So use it for content, we use it in sales, branding programs. We never do a brand strategy without it anymore because we want to see lots of things that are going on out there in regard to our brand. And finally, what I'll say on this slide is that 89% of senior executives agree that the demand for content has increased significantly, but only 28% think that their organizations are good or very good at doing content and delivering content. So that's from Adobe, and it's an important thing to know about content.
And I wanted to add and punctuate the fact that our use of topic intelligence, we actually wrote about it and have an article that I put into the chat. And the title of it is Know What Converts Best Before You Invest. And this goes through in great detail how topic intelligence works and works alongside of keywords. And it literally completely is a game changer in telling you which, even across which channel topics will resonate best. So we're really loving and tripling down on using topic intelligence across all of our client engagements because it's creating exponentially better conversion and engagement. So that's what it's all about.
So we're seeing that there's a lot of questions in the chat. So we're going to move a little bit more quickly through this part to get to them.
Yeah.
So this is just about topic intelligence and the things that you can do with it from PR and thought leadership and SEM and email. So, and I think we've covered that a lot. It's a fantastic thing to look at. And if you read that article, you'll get it really clearly. This is the third one. And we wanted to, in this one, rather than pick one, we wanted you to think about the tech stack, because you probably already have one, using MailChimp for your email campaigns, you're using Canva to create your presentations, right? You've already got technology slotted into certain uses, but there are 11,000 of them. So what's cool about this, I picked this slide to show only because you could kind of read the big headings like audio and visual, sales and success, research, right? Websites, operations. But the Chief Martech, MARTEC.com, does something I call the stackies, where they evaluate, where you can submit your tech stack to them, and then they pick the best ones. They have this great slide program with different tech stacks. And the reason why I mention it is that not all companies are going to have the same tech stack. Depends on your objectives, who you are, your audiences, what your program looks like. So if you go to chiefmartech.com, you can see how others like yourself potentially have put their stack together and get ideas for yours, right? So that's the third one, which just says there's a ton. think about how to use them, create your stack so that you're measuring and going for performance throughout. And this, Nicole?
Yes, and just to highlight the fact that we are committed to responsible AI development, we have been working with organizations called AI Plus C, the AI Objectives Institute, and some other organizations that we may be able to announce later on responsible AI. We're committed to technologies, and we will not use AI to manipulate or falsify. We will not present AI generated imagery as real or something that wasn't generated by AI. We will hold humans responsible for actions and outcomes of AI. We will not use AI technologies to undermine privacy, and we will seek to use AI as a way to support human relationships and well-being. Human flourishing and aligned AI with human values is very, very important to us. This is part of our commitment, and we want to regularly share that with you. We encourage you to sign in with us on those fronts.
And Wired has a more extensive manifesto that you could take a look at that get more ideas if you're creating one for your company.
Yeah. And just to highlight quickly, we are delivering on these AI technologies for customer acquisition, and for the leadership global community, we're offering a 15% discount to get in touch with us, whether it's building out your personal brand and content, or across the marketing mix, or if it's related to your company and you have some specific performance objectives that you'd like to reach. We'd love to have a conversation with you about them.
So what that does is it basically finds the right topics for you, and we use it also for your brand strategy, and then it creates a bunch of content you can use in channels to get that multi-channel, omni-channel awareness.
Yeah. So just to cap it off, and then we'll go straight to questions because there are many. It's really important to ready yourself for new possibilities. So thank you again for being here and being open and joining us in conversation. We see this as conversation because there is so much new that's developing each day, and we can all learn from each other. We encourage you all to experiment with new technology and never lose your humanity or marketing skills. So double down. Human relationships have never felt more rewarding to me. I don't know about all of you, but it's really important to stay human and and just keep leveraging your marketing skills. They're needed right now more than ever.